Okay, so this week is Spirit Week for Milwaukee Public Schools, and so for day one, they asked us to post a video or something that displays our hidden talents. And so one of the things that I pride myself on is my ability to cook, and I really enjoy to cook Indian food. So today I figured I would share with you all how I cook my chicken curry. I'm gonna walk you through the recipe. I'm gonna try to do it quickly, and I'm gonna try to do it with the best camera skills possible, but work with me. I'll do my very best. So, I don't even know how to turn this camera around. Let's see. Oh geez, I feel like my mother. Oh my God, seriously. Okay, so I've prepared all my ingredients, and I'll just start with the vegetables that I have. So I have tomatoes, onions. I use red and white. I like the red better because they are sweeter. I know it might look like a lot of onions, but it's actually not a lot because it'll cook down. Then there is garlic. I have ginger, I have 1 green pepper, and I'm actually gonna probably cut that in half and take the seeds out. I have tomato paste. Then I have chicken. This has already been washed and dried. And of course I have a food processor that I'm gonna be processing many of these vegetables in. Then as far as seasonings go, I have cardamom, which is optional. I have black pepper, salt, cumin, hot chili powder, coriander, red chili powder, turmeric, garam masala. This is dried cilantro. It's called kasuri methi, but you don't have to use it. You can use cilantro instead, or you don't have to use any. And then vegetable oil as well. And then I'm just gonna use this pot. You can pretty much use any big pot that you would cook maybe like a soup or a stew in. So I'm going to cut and chop and dice all my vegetables and show you what that looks like in just a moment. All right, as you can see, I have diced my onions, I have diced my tomatoes, I diced the pepper, and then I just chopped up the garlic and the ginger. And the reason why I just chopped it up is because I'm gonna add all of this into my food processor. And because I'm one of those kinds of cooks, I don't really know exactly how much. So just to give you an idea, that's how much ginger I use, and about a handful of garlic as well. And you can never really have too much because in curry you're gonna add water, so you really want that to be like a really rich water. All right, so I just ground up my ginger and my garlic, and it turned into a wonderful paste, which I'm gonna show you in just a moment. I'm trying to get creative with the camera while not passing on salmonella as well. So I went ahead and I cut 1-inch slits into my chicken, and then I'm going to, just like this, boom. And then I'm gonna take half of my ginger garlic paste, and I'm gonna include it in there. And then I'm gonna take 1 spoon of salt and put it in there, in my bowl. And then I'm going to mash this together. And I'm gonna get that ginger garlic paste with the salt right in the slits. And then I'm gonna just let this sit for about 15 minutes, and you'll see what we're gonna do while this is marinating and getting all in there real good. Okay, so while I was mixing my chicken, I realized I did something wrong, which was I forgot to add my red pepper sauce. So I'm just gonna add like the tip of a spoon to my bowl, and then I'm gonna continue to mix this wonderful, delicious marinade, and it's gonna have like a red sauce to it. So I'm still mixing. Okay, so now we're ready to actually start cooking. So what I've done is I've put my pot on medium-high heat. I put oil in the pot. I put about 1/4 inch oil, just enough to really cook the onions. And then it's already hot, so I'm gonna go ahead and add the cardamom and cloves. So I'll just add maybe like 4 cloves, 4 cardamom, just like this, to the oil. And I guess that's just supposed to release in the oils before we begin to cook our onions. Okay, so once that's kind of just been cooking for maybe like 3 minutes, I'm just gonna go ahead and add all of my onions. And like I said, I know this looks like a lot of onions, but because onions cook down, it's gonna be okay. And then one thing I will say about the onion situation is this, like, the more onions you use, the more soup you'll get. So if you like your chicken curry to have a lot of soup, then don't be afraid to use onions, because we're gonna cook all of the onions down, and that's really gonna be like what makes the soup in the end, that and the tomatoes and the water mixed together. So yeah, don't be scared to use onions. Okay, as you can see, the onions have just begun to kind of get like this brown. They're getting like a little brownish purple. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add 1 teaspoon of salt, and then about 1 teaspoon of cumin as well. And I'm gonna let that cook some more, and I'm stirring it. And remember, this is gonna cook all the way down. We don't want this to be like raw onions in our soup, so we're gonna cook this all the way down. I'm gonna show you what that looks like. So it's been cooking for about 7 minutes, I think maybe 15 minutes like this. I'll show you what that looks like. Okay, so now I'm going to combine these spices into like a smaller dish, just so I can dump them all in at one time and show you how it's done. And that's gonna be happening while my onions are cooking. You see they're brown, they're nice and brownish purple, they're looking good. Okay, so I'm gonna do 1/2 teaspoon of turmeric powder. My mom calls this turmeric because it doesn't come out of your clothes if it stains. I'm gonna do 1/2 teaspoon of coriander as well. 1/2 teaspoon of hot chili powder. 1/2 teaspoon, oh my gosh, of black pepper. I'm gonna add a little bit more black pepper. And then 1/2 teaspoon of red chili pepper. Okay, so we see that our onions are going here. What I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna add the rest of my vegetables, which is the ginger garlic paste that was left over from the marinade, the pepper, the seasoning, and then finally my tomatoes. So here goes. And for good measure, because I know I'm going to be adding a lot of water to this, I'll also add just maybe 2 tablespoons of tomato paste. And give that a nice mix. Watch the colors come together. That is gonna be delicious. I'm gonna increase my heat. I'm really sorry about these camera skills. Okay, so my tomatoes have been cooking for about 5 minutes now, and you'll see that you don't really see the onions much. It's really like pasty and soupy now. Also, what I just realized is that I cooked way too much, and you know, to be honest, I do this all the time, and the reason why I do it is because, well, I tell myself this is why I do it, but because I like to create some extra sauce so that the next time I can just have this sauce frozen. So I'm gonna take about half of this out. Yeah, and I'm gonna put that in a mason jar and freeze it. So now I've got half of my curry and my chicken. And I'm gonna put my chicken in here, like so. And I'm gonna let that cook for about 5 minutes and turn it around. And then I'll add water. Okay, so my chicken has been going for about 5 minutes now, and I've got some water on the side. You can see that, you know, it's not cooked obviously, but it's just the outside is nice and done. So I'm going to add water enough to cover the chicken. It's really hard to cook and record at the same time, but I've got this. Okay, so enough water just to completely submerge the chicken. And then we're gonna get all the sauce in there, maybe scrape the bottom, make sure there's nothing on the bottom. And then we're gonna cook that on medium-high heat, covered. Boom. I'm not sure if I should look through the camera or look in real life. But we're just gonna cook that for about 15 minutes. We're gonna keep coming to check on it, and I'll show you when we know it's done, and that's when the meat is falling off the bones. You guys are probably getting a headache watching this, but okay, if you made it this far, thank you for your patience. Okay, so I told you that I would let you know how we know our chicken is done. So if you look at this piece, you'll see that the meat is actually falling off of the bone, which is indicative that this is done. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna add my last 2 spices. So I'm gonna add 1 teaspoon of garam masala. Shoom. And then I'm gonna add 1 tablespoon of cilantro. And you'll see how that color just makes it so beautiful. Mix it up. So now I'm pretty much just gonna turn this on low heat and let it simmer and make my rice.